Hello Dogs fans, welcome to another episode of After the Dogs Roar for season 2017. This is the show dedicated to our great club, the Western Bulldogs. Now another big episode coming up, so let's get straight into having a look at the agenda. I am going to start the episode by having a look at our AFLW Round 4 clash that happened on the weekend against Collingwood, followed by my Round 4 votes for the After the Dogs Roar AFLW Best and Fairest Award. We're then going to take a look at where we stand on the AFLW ladder before getting stuck in to our second game in the JLT Community Series. It's against the Brisbane Lions in Week 3, and then I'm going to be previewing our Round 5 AFLW clash against Carlton, which will be our first away game for the AFLW season of 2017. And then the 5 fan questions. The fan favourite segment is back after a couple of weeks off. I'm looking forward to answering the 5 best questions asked by you Western Bulldog supporters, members and fans. So let's not waste any time, let's get stuck into it. So on Saturday night, our Western Bulldogs women's side was taking on Collingwood in a must-win AFLW clash at Victoria University Whitten Oval. This was the Round 4 clash, and Collingwood was coming into this game having not won a single game in 2017. And well, we were coming into this game with losing our last 2 games and only winning the first game of the season, which was against Fremantle. Of course, our last 3 games, or our first 3 games, have all been at Whitten Oval when we've lost 2 of those 3 games. So it's simply not good enough losing at home, and this was a must-win clash if we wanted to keep our grand final hopes alive. And it's fair to say it didn't get off to the best of starts in the first quarter. We didn't kick a single goal in the first quarter. We kicked the 2 behinds to Collingwood's 1 goal, 1 behind, and they had the quarter time lead. The second quarter, however, it was in our favour. It was a bit of a better second quarter, I must say, or a better quarter, I must say. And we were going into the halftime break having a lead of just only 3 points. And we restricted Collingwood to not scoring at all in the second quarter. So it was 1 for us to Collingwood, 1-1 at half-time. Now the second half, however, and this seems to be a bit of a trend in the last couple of games at least, where we seem to drop off in the second half, and that's where it all goes wrong, and that's where we basically lose the game. And that's exactly what was happening in this second half, especially the third quarter. We didn't kick a single score in the third quarter. And Collingwood had a 5-2 to 1-4 lead at 3-quarter time. And even though Collingwood didn't kick a score in the fourth quarter and we kicked a couple of goals and a couple of behinds, they were able to hold us off, and Collingwood won their first game of 2016 in this Round 4 clash. The final score, the Western Bulldogs 3-7-25, defeated by Collingwood 5-32. So our grand final hopes are slimming. In fact, they're probably gone, to be honest. We only have 3 rounds to go now of the season. There's no knockout type. Series in this. It's just the top 2 go through the grand final, and I can't see us getting through to the grand final now. We've lost our last 3 games. Yeah, it's going to be very, very hard to get back from here, and I don't think we can. I think that's about it for our season. So I guess the next 3 games we want to try and just get some winning happening. But you know, our hopes are still alive, but a lot of things have to go right. So let's go through the goal kickers. Lamb kicked 2 and Blackburn kicked a single. And for our best players, Blackburn, Kearney, Lachlan, Lamb and Callanan all got in the best players. Just over or nearly 7,000 people were at Whitten Oval on Saturday night. So, yeah, a disappointing display really. Collingwood were going into this game without a win. To be fair, I thought we would win this game, but yeah, I don't know what's going on. Whether Katie Brennan is the reason, whether her being out is having a big influence on us losing, I'm not sure. But yeah, our grand final hopes, it's fair to say, are slimming. Okay, let's get into my votes for the After the Dogs Roar AFLW Best and Fairest Award. And I start with my one vote. It goes to Emma Kearney. She's been absolutely sensational in the first 4 games. She has polled at least one vote in every single game. And she had 13 disposals on Saturday night, 6 kicks, 7 handballs, and the 2 marks, followed by the one behind. So she is travelling very, very well for our side in the AFLW League. I've given the 2 votes to Kirsty Lamb. She features in the votes for the first time for this year. Got 2 goals, had 14 disposals, 12 kicks, 2 handballs, 2 marks. She was quite an influence in the I guess for our team on Saturday night, but not the sort of influence that was going to get us through the line on Saturday night. And then Ellie Blackburn is top of the list with the 3 votes this round. She was outstanding, 19 disposals, 14 kicks, 5 handballs, 3 marks. She had the most disposals of the game, so that says it all. Considering we lost the game, she had the most disposals, and she had a big influence. And unfortunately, it just wasn't enough for us to win the game. But she also got 1 goal as well, with 2 behind. So she had a very, very good game on Saturday night against the Collingwood Magpies. And we have a look at the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Roar AFLW Best and Fairest Award. Emma Kearney and Ellie Blackburn are now level, equal first with 9 votes each. And then Katie Brennan, Kirsty Lamb and Hannah Scott are level third with 2 votes each. So that is the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award after round 4. Let's have a look now at where we stand on the AFLW ladder after round 4. We are currently in 5th place. Look, I don't think we can make the top 2 now. It's, we have to win our last 3 games. There's no doubt about that. But look at where the Adelaide Crows and Brisbane Lions stand. They are on 16 apiece. Yeah, look, they do verse each other this week, and one of them will lose this week, their first game of the season. But look, it's going to be quite tough to get into that top 2. A lot of things have to go our way. We have to win our next 3 games and rely on other teams losing. So it's a very hard thing to happen. But I guess you never know. But yeah, I can't really see us getting into that top 2, unfortunately. And sadly, our women's side might not feature in the big dance this year. Okay, time now to get into our second JLT Community Series match. It is week 3, of course. We had the week off in week 2, so it's week 3, and we're going to be starting off the 3rd week of the JLT Community Series on Thursday night against the Brisbane Lions. Thursday the 2nd of March, 7:40 p.m. at Etihad Stadium. Really looking forward to this game. Of course, you can watch it all on Fox Footy. Of course, none of the pre-season games are on free-to-air, so for those who don't have paid TV, you'll have to wait until the start of the season to see our mighty Western Bulldogs side. It's actually been announced today who's actually going to be playing in this game. Marcus Bontempelli is going to be playing in his first game for 2017, along with Easton Wood and 5 other players from last year's winning grand final side as well. So also Matt Suckling, Kieran Collins, Bailey Williams and Rourke Smith have also been included, as well as Tim English, Patrick Lezinski, Lewis Young and also Nathan Malenga McHugh. So there's a few players in this 29-man squad. And I'd love to see English in this side because Jordan Roughhead is going to be out for a long period of time now. probably for the first half of the season. So, you know, it's either out of him or Tom Campbell for that ruck role. Of course, Tom Boyd's going to be there as a backup, but you'd have to say he'll play mostly forward along with that secondary ruck role. So I'd love to see English. Of course, some other players who are featuring this side is Boyd, Dale Morris, and also Liam Pickens. So they have been included into this 29-man squad. So there's a lot of players who have been included into this. Of course, we're also going to see Travis Cloke again. He's in this side. And I think also Stuart Cramery. Yeah, Stuart Cramery is in this side as well, has been named in this side. No Bob Murphy as well by the looks of it. So Bob Murphy, after a good week 1 return, is going to have a bit of a spell. May play in week 4 against the Gold Coast Suns. Who knows? Or may not even play at all. May just wait until round 1 of the season. So that's very exciting there. It looks like it's going to be a very exciting game. I cannot wait to sit down and see us in action against the Brisbane Lions at Etihad Stadium on Thursday night. Repeating, 7:40, Thursday, 2nd of March at Etihad Stadium. You can watch it on Fox Footy. And our women are again in action this Saturday against Carlton at our first away game for season 2017 in the AFL Women's League. This one at Icon Park starting at 11:35 a.m. Of course, you can watch it on Fox Footy. It's, of course, on Saturday the 4th of March. And Carlton are coming off their last 2 games not having won a game. So they've lost their last 2. So they could be pretty vulnerable in this game. And we could actually be within a chance to win this game. It is away, but I think we are with a bit of a chance. They actually haven't lost a game at home this season, though. So that's I guess the factor there is that they haven't lost at home, so that's going to be a bit tough. But look, if we can win this game, we're in with a little bit of a sniff to make the top 2, but it's going to be very, very, very difficult from here. Okay, time now for the fan favourite segment, the 5 fan questions. After a 2-week break, it is back in this episode, and just to clarify that, it will take a bit of a break every now and again, this segment. So if you don't see it in a particular episode, don't worry, it's not gone forever. Sometimes I just take a little bit of a break from the segment to do other things on this show, just to make it a little bit more exciting. But the fan favourite segment, the 5 fan questions, back for this week. I've picked the best 5 questions. Let's get straight into them, starting with Matthew Bowman's question, most surprising performance from the women's team. I must say, Emma Kearney, I didn't really, or Emma Carney as the commentators announced it, I'm not really sure which one's correct, but she's been outstanding. I didn't actually expect her to be as outstanding as she actually has been in this competition. She's in the top 5 of the leading disposals across the whole competition, and she also spends her summer playing cricket in the WBBL, so she's a real performer. She's been absolutely outstanding for us this season so far, and you see that in the Best and Fairest award. She polls a vote in every single week. She polled, I think, in the first couple of weeks 3 votes, and then of course last week she polled 2, and she's polled 1 this week. So she is. She's gonna be close for the Best and Fairest award this year. It's no question about that, and she's up there in one of the best in our team at the moment, and she's been one of the most surprising. Hannah Scott has also been surprising as well. She's been performing. She probably didn't perform on the weekend, but the first 3 games I thought she's been pretty good, especially in round 2 and 3 in our losing game. She's been up there as one of the best players in our top 5. So. And she's only a round 3 pick, so that's very outstanding there by Hannah Scott. So yeah, Anna Carney and Hannah Scott, the 2 most surprising performers from me and the women's team. Red WB asks an interesting question. Who are you tipping to be our starting ruckman for round 1, Mr. Bevis? Well, a very interesting question, as I just mentioned, Red WB, and I'm a bit stuck on this because I'd love to see Tim English in the side in round 1. He probably has a lot of ability. He is probably a very, very good ruckman considering his size. However, I think maybe Tom Campbell probably should start in round 1 just because of his experience and he is still a good player. He's a good ruckman for us. I don't like the idea of having Tom Boyd as our first ruckman for the whole game. I think we should purely be rotating him, through the forward line and into the ruck, etc. Throughout games. He probably shouldn't be our primary ruckman. He should really be a secondary ruckman for us. So it has to be out of English and Campbell, I think, and I'm thinking Campbell at this stage, just because of English. He's only just been drafted. He might need a little bit of game time before he's actually going to start starring in our senior side. So Tom Campbell for me, it'll be interesting to see how English goes this week against the Lions. Tom asks, what is a premiership threat to us? I reckon GWS are a real threat to us this year. I know a lot of people might not like me saying this, but they have a really good list, a really good side. And last year, it was their first year in the finals, and they did so well to get to the preliminary final stage. And you have to respect them for that. So I think this year they're going to be up there in the top 4 again this year. And I think they are going to maybe be in the top 2. And I think we can beat every side in the competition this year, I reckon. But I think GWS are a side that is going to be absolutely hard to beat this year. So I think they might be the threat to us, is GWS. They have a good list, a good lot of young players. We do too, it's no doubt about that. It's going to be some good battles between them this year, I reckon. We've got 2 clashes, one on a Friday night, but they're both on Friday night, one at Manuka and the other at Etihad. And they are going to be really good games. I think we're going to have a good tussle with them this year, because I think they're going to be hard to beat. Jenny asks, what do you think our best forward lineup will look like this year? It's an interesting question, this one. I've named at least 6 players who I think will actually get a real considerable amount of time in the forward line this year, and they are Tom Boyd. He's a key forward. He'll probably play mostly full forward, maybe half forward. Along with rotating through the ruck. He's probably the most important man up forward for us. Travis Cloke, I know a lot of people have been saying that he's probably going to play a lot in reserves this year, but I don't think that's true. I think what we saw in week 1, I think is setting the tone for what's going to happen during the year, and I think he's going to play a lot more games than people think. He's an all-Australian forward. We cannot forget that. Of course, his last few years have been not so great, but he showed some promising signs in week 1 of the JLT Community Series, and this is going to be an interesting week for him again as well. So I think he is going to play a really key role in our forward line this year. Stuart Crabbery will probably come back and play in the side. Tory Dixon, it's going to be interesting to see where they put him. Of course, Jake Stringer, it's going to be interesting to see whether he plays that forward position, or whether he actually goes into the midfield and plays a lot more time in the midfield. I reckon he'll just stay in the forward line, considering how many midfielders we actually have who can actually play in the midfield. But then again, he could go and rotate through the midfield with someone like Luke Dalhouse, who I think is going to play a lot more time up the midfield this year than what he probably usually would. And then Toby McLean, I think, is another one who you have to slot up there in probably a flank pocket position. He is a really good young emerging forward, and there's probably some others that I'm missing out. Of course, Redpath is injured at the moment, so we can't include him, and there's probably a couple of others as well that I haven't named that will probably be rotating through the forward line throughout the year. But I think these are the most important ones, and the ones that I think will play a considerable amount of time in our forward line this year. And it's hard to say what position exactly they'll play. That's, I guess, for Beveridge to decide. The final question from Braden asks, who do you think will win the Charles Sutton Medal in 2017? Marcus Bontempelli is probably one of the outstanding ones who is probably up there as the favourite to win it. But I'm going to go away from him, and I'm going to say Luke Dalhouse. He had a good first game in the JLT Community Series, and I think he's going to play a lot more time in the midfield this year, which will help him poll a lot more votes. So I'm going to go with Luke Dalhouse. I think he's going to win the Charlie Sutton Medal this year. I think he's set for one of his best years this year. And that is it for another episode of After the Dogs Roar for the season of 2017. Thank you very much for clicking on and watching this episode. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, share this video, subscribe and stay tuned, because as we get closer to the season, this show will continue to get hotter and hotter as we go into the season. So do stick around, stay tuned, and keep watching this show, because this is for every single Western Bulldogs member, supporter and fan. Anyone who loves the club, this is the show for you. So thank you very much for watching. Looking forward to next week's episode, where I continue my coverage of the women's as well as our men's side in the pre-season series. So until next week, I'm Jacob. Enjoy your weekend. Hope the Dogs win in both formats. Bye for now.